Right now, there's a voice in your head telling you that you're not ready, that you don't have what it takes, that tomorrow is a better day to start. And you've heard that voice so many times that it's starting to feel like the truth. But I need you to understand something that will change everything. The distance between who you are today and who you could become isn't measured in giant leaps. It's measured in the small daily choices you make when nobody's watching. It's measured in the moments when you're tired, when you're afraid, when you'd rather stay comfortable than push yourself into the unknown. That's where transformation lives, not in the big dreams you tell yourself about someday, but in what you do today. Think about where you are right now. You know exactly what needs to change. You can feel it in your bones. There's this weight you carry, this sense that you're capable of so much more than what you're currently producing. You scroll through your phone and see other people moving forward, building, creating, becoming, and something inside you breaks a little bit. Not because they're better than you, but because you know you're not giving yourself permission to become what you're meant to be. This is the deepest form of suffering, and I want you to know that you're not alone in feeling it. It's not the suffering of external circumstances. It's the suffering that comes from looking yourself in the mirror and knowing you're playing small. Knowing you're choosing comfort over growth, knowing that somewhere inside you is a person who wants to break free, but you keep locking that person away because freedom feels too risky, too uncertain, too hard. You've probably told yourself 1,000 times that you're going to change. You've made promises, you've set goals. You've had moments of absolute clarity where you thought, this is it. This is when I finally do it. But then the moment passed, the clarity faded. And you went back to the same patterns, the same routines, the same excuses. And each time that happens, something inside you dies a little bit. A piece of your faith in yourself fractures. Because if you can't trust yourself to do what you say you're going to do, then who can you trust? This is the pain that brought you here. This is why you're listening. Because you're tired of being a person who knows what to do, but doesn't do it. You're tired of being split between the version of yourself that wants to grow and the version that wants to stay safe. You're tired of wasted potential, and what makes it even worse is that you know the problem isn't external. It's not that you lack opportunity. It's not that you don't have the resources. It's something deeper. It's that you haven't truly committed to action. You haven't decided that today matters more than some perfect future version of yourself. Here's the uncomfortable truth that most people don't want to hear. Waiting for the perfect moment is the same as waiting to die. There is no perfect moment. There is no day when everything lines up and suddenly you're ready. The readiness you're waiting for doesn't exist. It's an illusion. It's a story you tell yourself so you don't have to face the fact that you're choosing not to move. And the people who are winning in life, the ones who are actually building something, they didn't wait for readiness. They started when they were terrified. They started when they weren't sure. They started with 20% clarity instead of 100% certainty. Because they understood something you need to understand right now. Action doesn't come after motivation. Action creates motivation. You don't feel inspired and then take action. You take action and inspiration follows like a shadow. You move first. The confidence comes after. Look at your life right now. Every single thing that you have that's worth having came from someone at some point deciding to take action despite being afraid. Your relationships didn't happen by accident. Someone reached out. Someone was brave enough to be vulnerable. Your skills didn't develop in a vacuum. Someone started practicing when they were terrible at it. Your accomplishments didn't manifest out of nowhere. Someone showed up on a day when they didn't feel like it and did the work anyway. But here's what's even more true. There are abilities inside you that you've never discovered because you've never pushed yourself to find them. There are versions of yourself you'll never meet because you're too comfortable where you are. There's potential dying inside you every single day that you stay still. And I'm not saying that to shame you. I'm saying that because you deserve to know your own power. You deserve to tap into capabilities you don't even know you possess yet. The reason most people don't take action isn't because they're lazy or broken. It's because they haven't fully calculated the cost of inaction. They haven't sat with the thought of looking back 5 years from now and realizing that they had the same dreams, the same goals, the same desires, but somehow none of them materialized. They didn't think about the regret. They didn't think about the conversations with themselves about all the things they could have done but didn't. That's a weight that will crush you far more than any fear of failure ever could, because failure is temporary. Regret is permanent. Failure teaches you. Regret haunts you. Failure moves you forward. Regret keeps you stuck in the past, replaying moments where you could have been brave but you weren't. So what's the truth that will actually set you free? It's this: you are not afraid of failure. You're not actually afraid of hard work. What you're afraid of is becoming someone new. You're afraid of the identity shift that comes with taking yourself seriously. Because when you start taking action consistently, you can't hide anymore. You can't tell yourself that you're trying. You have to face the reality of what you're actually doing. You have to take responsibility for your own life. And that's terrifying because responsibility means you can't blame anyone else. It means you can't say the system failed you or the timing was wrong or people didn't believe in you. Responsibility means admitting that your life is exactly what you've chosen to make it. But here's the liberation in that truth. If your choices created where you are, then your choices can create where you're going. This is the moment where everything shifts. This is where I need you to look at your life from a completely different angle. You're not starting from failure. You're starting from potential. You're not starting from weakness. You're starting from a place where you finally understand that growth doesn't happen in comfort. It happens in the space between where you are and where you're stretching toward. Think about a river, not the massive parts that you see in the distance, but the small stream at the top of the mountain. It's just water moving downward, following the path of least resistance. But as it moves, it carves out its own channel. It deepens, it gains strength, and eventually it becomes powerful enough to move boulders. You are like that river. The action you take today isn't about the final destination. It's about carving your channel. It's about beginning to shape your own reality through consistent daily movement. Every single day, you have a choice. You can be a person who knows what they should do but doesn't do it. Or you can be a person who has the courage to follow through. That's not a huge difference in terms of effort, but it's a massive difference in terms of identity. The person who keeps their promises to themselves is fundamentally different from the person who breaks them. One has self-respect, one doesn't. One is building trust in themselves, one is eroding it. And self-respect isn't something that's given to you. It's not something you can fake. Self-respect is earned through the accumulated moments of doing the hard thing when the hard thing is uncomfortable. It's earned through showing up. It's earned through following through. It's earned by being a person whose word means something, even when the only person you're making a promise to is yourself. This is where transformation actually begins, not in some grand moment of enlightenment, but in the quiet decision to treat yourself as someone who matters, someone worthy of respect, someone worth the effort. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, this is beautiful and inspiring, but how do I actually do this? How do I go from someone who doesn't follow through to someone who does? And that's the right question, because inspiration without action is just entertainment. And you're not here to be entertained, you're here to change. So let's talk about what actually works, because there are principles that separate the people who transform their lives from the people who stay stuck. And the first principle is this: you have to make action smaller than your resistance to action. Most people fail not because they lack capability, but because they make their goals too big and their commitment too abstract. They say, I'm going to work out. That's too big. That's too vague. And when the discomfort hits, the vagueness gives them permission to skip it. Instead, you need to make it so small that skipping it becomes shameful. Your goal isn't to work out. Your goal is to put on workout clothes. That's it. That's the commitment. You're not committing to an hour at the gym. You're committing to changing your clothes. Because once you've done that, once you've taken that first step, the momentum carries you. But you have to make the first step achievable. The same applies to everything else in your life. If you want to write, your commitment isn't to write a book. Your commitment is to write one sentence, one single sentence every morning. That's so small that the only reason to skip it is pure laziness. And over time, those sentences add up. They accumulate. One sentence becomes a paragraph becomes a page becomes a chapter, and suddenly you're someone who writes, but you got there by committing to something so small that your mind couldn't talk you out of it. The second principle is that you have to remove the decision-making process. You can't wake up every morning and decide whether you're going to do your action. If you do that, you'll lose. Your mind is too creative at finding reasons why today isn't the day. So instead, you have to make action non-negotiable. You have to say, this is what I do. This is who I am. I don't decide whether to do it. I just do it. Make it automatic. Make it part of your identity. The person you're becoming doesn't debate whether they're going to take action. They just do it. How do you make something automatic? Anchoring. You attach your new action to something you already do every single day. You drink coffee in the morning, your new action happens right after coffee. You brush your teeth at night, your new action happens right after that. You come home from work, Your new action happens immediately when you walk through the door. You're not relying on motivation. You're relying on existing habits to carry your new behavior. You're building chains where each link is already solid. The third principle is tracking. You need to see the evidence that you're doing this, not because you need external validation, but because your brain needs proof. When you complete your daily action, you mark it down. You keep a record, and every single day that you don't break that chain becomes proof to yourself that you're serious, that you're someone who follows through. After 30 days, you have 30 pieces of evidence that you're changing. After 90 days, you have 90. That's 90 moments where you prove to yourself that your word matters. That's 90 deposits in your self-respect account. But here's what most people don't understand about tracking. You're not tracking the outcome. You're tracking the behavior. You don't mark down whether you got the result you wanted. You mark down whether you did the action, because the outcome isn't in your control, but the action is. And when you start tracking actions instead of outcomes, something shifts. You stop waiting for permission from the universe. You stop needing external validation. You start trusting yourself because you're making promises you actually keep. The fourth principle is this: you have to prepare for failure as if it's guaranteed to happen, because it will. You will miss a day. You will lose motivation. You will have moments where you want to quit. And if you haven't prepared for those moments, they'll destroy your momentum. So here's what you need to do. Before you even start, write down what you're going to do the moment you miss a day. You're not going to beat yourself up. You're not going to use it as an excuse to quit. You're simply going to get back on track immediately the next day. That's it. One miss doesn't matter. It's the second miss that matters. It's the third that destroys you. But the first miss is just information. It's your mind testing whether you're serious. And when you get back on track the next day, without shame, without drama, without using it as evidence that you're broken, you send yourself a message: I'm committed to this, not to perfection. I'm committed to the direction, not the destination. These are the tools. These are the things you can start using today. But I want you to understand something deeper about why this matters. When you take action, even small action, every single day, you're not just building habits. You're building a different version of yourself. You're literally rewiring your brain. You're creating neural pathways that didn't exist before. You're training your mind to see yourself as capable. You're showing yourself that fear is not a stop sign. It's information. It's feedback. It's something you move through, not something you retreat from. And there's a compounding effect to this that most people don't see because they give up before they experience it. You take action on day one, nothing much happens. Your brain asks, was that worth it? And you're not sure. So on day two, you have to dig deeper. But somewhere around day 7, you start to feel different. You start to walk taller. You start to make eye contact with yourself in the mirror. Something shifts. It's subtle but real. By day 30, people are starting to notice. They're asking you what you're doing differently. And you can't quite explain it because it's not about what you're doing. It's about who you're becoming. By day 90, you're unrecognizable to the person you were. Not in terms of your external circumstances, but in terms of your internal landscape. You believe in yourself now. You've given yourself proof that you're capable. You've shown yourself that you don't need to be fixed or ready or prepared. You just need to start. This is the empowerment that comes from action. It's not the empowerment that comes from waiting for the perfect moment. It's not the empowerment that comes from someone else believing in you. It's the empowerment that comes from proving to yourself that you're serious about your own life. Think about what this means for your future. A year from now, you could be living an entirely different life. Not because something external changed, but because you changed your daily behavior. And when you change your daily behavior, everything changes. Your relationships get deeper because you're showing up as someone whole and purposeful. Your work gets better because you're bringing intention to what you do. Your body feels different because you're taking care of it. Your mind feels clearer because you're not being crushed by the weight of unused potential. Everything radiates out from this one decision to take action every single day. But I need you to understand something crucial. This isn't about being perfect. This isn't about being productive every single moment of every single day. This is about deciding that you're not going to be the person who knows what to do but doesn't do it. You're going to be the person who bridges that gap. You're going to be the person who turns knowledge into action. And that requires courage because there's nothing to hide behind anymore. When you take action, you're visible. You're putting yourself out there. And not everyone is going to like it. Not everyone is going to support it. Some people are going to be uncomfortable with your growth because it mirrors their own stagnation. And you have to be okay with that. You have to be willing to move forward, even if it means people don't understand, because here's the truth about your potential. It was never meant for everyone else's comfort. It was meant for your fulfillment. It was meant to be used. It was meant to be expressed. And the world needs what only you can create, not because you're special or chosen or gifted, but because there's a unique angle of viewing the world that only exists through your eyes. There's a way of solving problems that only exists in your mind. There's a voice that only you have, and if you don't use it, it dies. So let me ask you this. How much longer are you going to pretend that you don't know what to do? How much longer are you going to make excuses? How much longer are you going to tell yourself that you're going to start next week, next month, when circumstances are better? Because every single day that you delay is a day that someone who could have benefited from what you have to offer doesn't get that benefit. Every single day you stay small is a day that your potential remains locked inside you. And that's not just a loss for you. That's a loss for everyone around you. So here's what I want you to do right now, not tomorrow, not next week. Today, I want you to identify one small action that you know you need to take, something that you've been avoiding. Something that requires courage because it means stepping into the unknown. It doesn't have to be huge. It could be making a phone call you've been putting off. It could be writing the first paragraph of something you want to create. It could be having the conversation you know you need to have. It could be going for a walk. It could be learning the first step of something new. It has to be small enough that you can do it today, but significant enough that it matters, that it scares you a little bit. And then I want you to do it. Not to achieve a result, not to feel good, but to prove to yourself that you're the kind of person who does what they say they're going to do. You're the kind of person who takes yourself seriously. You're the kind of person who doesn't hide behind fear or circumstances or timing. You're the kind of person who moves, and then tomorrow I want you to do it again, not because you feel like it, not because you're motivated, but because that's who you are now. You're someone who acts. You're someone who builds momentum through small, consistent decisions. You're someone who respects yourself enough to follow through. You're going to face resistance. Your mind is going to come up with every reason to quit. Discomfort is going to set in. You're going to have days where you feel like you're making no progress. And on those days, I need you to remember this. Progress is not linear. It's a spiral. You come back to the same lessons over and over again, but at a higher level each time. The struggles you face today are not evidence that you're failing. They're evidence that you're being challenged, and challenge is where growth lives. Think of your life like a forest. Right now, you're standing in a clearing, and it feels safe. But the forest around you is ancient and vast and full of possibility. And there's a voice calling you into that forest, urging you to explore, urging you to discover what's in there. But the forest is dense. You can't see the path, and the clearing is comfortable. So most people stay in the clearing their whole lives, never knowing what was waiting in the forest. But you're different. You're here because you heard that call, and now you have to be brave enough to take the first step. The path appears as you walk. You don't need to see the entire route. You just need to take the first step. Every single day that you take action, you're cutting through that forest. You're creating your own path. You're leaving a trail that eventually becomes clear enough that you can see where you're going. But it all starts with that first step. It all starts with today. So I'm going to ask you one final time. Are you ready to be the kind of person who does what they say they're going to do? Are you ready to stop choosing comfort over growth? Are you ready to stop being the person watching other people build their lives and start being the person building yours? Are you ready to prove to yourself that you're capable? Are you ready to move? Because that's all this is. It's a choice. Right now, in this moment, you get to choose who you're going to be. You can go back to the patterns. You can go back to the excuses. You can go back to knowing what you should do but not doing it. Or you can choose something different. You can choose to act. You can choose to build. You can choose to move forward even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard, the person you're going to become is waiting for you on the other side of action. Not months from now, tomorrow. The moment you take that first step, you've already changed. Because you've proven something to yourself that you can never take back. You are capable of doing hard things. You are capable of moving forward despite uncertainty. You are capable of becoming so go. Take action today. Do the thing. Not because it will change your life immediately, but because it's the first brick in the wall that separates who you were from who you're becoming, and tomorrow you lay another brick, and the day after another. Until one day, you look back and realize you've built an entire fortress, a fortress of consistency, a fortress of self-respect, a fortress of proof that you're the kind of person who follows through. That person is inside you right now, waiting, desperate to get out. So let them out. Do it today, do it now, because your life is not determined by your circumstances. It's determined by the daily choices you make. And starting today, you're making different choices.